Hey everyone, welcome back to Spector Creative, the only channel on YouTube that is called Spector Creative. It's a pleasure to be your host and to have you here. I love anytime we can spend time together. It's fantastic, and thank you for sharing some of yours. Scott Toy Guru Neitlich, let's jump in without any further blathering up and screwing up this intro. Talking today about something that's come up a lot in the subscriber comment section. Well, you don't have to be a subscriber to comment, but hey, we appreciate it if you do. Support this channel, yay. There are a lot of high-end items hitting at the same time in toy collecting world. And I don't mean items that are prepaid for, like the Haslab Cantina that we're all waiting for, so we could finally have our bar dollhouse. Remember, playsets have action features. Dollhouses just display. There's the difference. No giant missile launcher in the Cantina. If they gave it one, playset. So, besides ones that we've, already paid for years ago, I'm talking about, for example, there is two current Haslabs. Well, there's the G.I. Joe one, I think, that just funded. There's the Star Wars landing ship from Attack of the Clones. Lego has a new $1,000 Death Star, which is still less expensive than making a real one, just to remind everybody for who's complaining about the price. So a lot of people are asking, why don't companies coordinate a little bit better? I mean, especially, a company like Hasbro, why would it put out two Haslabs at the same time that might appeal to the same customer? So, great questions. Let's dive in. There's a few different answers here and a few different situations. So first off, let's talk about let's go narrow to big, I suppose. Narrow would be starting with why Hasbro would run two Haslab campaigns that overlap. And honestly, I'm assuming it's logistics and schedule, because from a marketing standpoint, it doesn't make sense, because you've got to put out two messages at the same time to the same sort of, while there's, collectors are like one of those good old Venn diagrams, right? Where there's some overlap, but it's not always 100% between two brands. Just because you like Star Wars doesn't mean you like My Little Pony, and vice versa. But they're all toy collectors. So putting out two Haslab items, even if for two different brands, at the same time can potentially hit the same customer, and they have to choose, okay, I have, say, a couple extra $100 to spend. What brand do I spend it on? So that's, I'm sure, done because of the logistics of the sort of toy design year. You can't sort of just start making a toy at any random point. You have to kind of follow the schedule because of the way the vendors work. You line up years ahead, basically booking time with vendors to produce something. So maybe not years, but at least months. I mean, at least 6 months to a year. So that's why design processes for new toys tends to follow a standard retail calendar. And I'm assuming that the Haslab items probably get started design-wise at the same time as that year's product. So meaning a Haslab for, in 2025 was developed at the same time the mainline 2025 lines were developed, which also, I think the evidence for this is the fact that, like Hasbro is starting to tie mainline offerings more and more into their Haslab, like using Haslab to theme their mainline. No better example than what's going on with Star Wars with said Cantina, that we're getting a lot of the, Return to Tatooine wave. I mean that's like a whole theme. They've even announced it, and it's clearly tied to the Haslab. I think it'll be interesting next year whether or not the landing ship for Attack of the Clones funds. I'll bet my bottom dollar that we're going to see a lot of Attack of the Clones arena-themed characters next year, because the development for them was done at the same time as the development for the Haslab. All right, so that's why two Haslabs are at the same time, because they're linked to the retail schedule. All right, so now let's move on to intercompany. Well, expecting, Lego, Hasbro, and Mattel to... Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, the Snake Layer. So another one. Mattel's also doing a big one right now. So, yeah, we have all these big ones. And asking them to coordinate, like Lego calling Mattel and saying, hey, we're going to do a big, huge item that's going to, launch in September. Can you keep big items off the shelf for this demographic. Well, no, of course they're not going to do that. It's Coke, Pepsi here. I mean, heck, look at the kind of the history of, I don't know about corporate espionage, but like, I mean, a perfect example is back in the 80s when Hasbro was launching GEM. Mattel spies, if you more or less, found out about this, and that's why they launched Barbie and the Rockers 6 months earlier than GEM, by kind of raiding their tooling gallery and finding every instrument and rock and roll type thing that had ever been done, putting it together with Barbie dolls, and boom, Barbie and the Rockers were out, and GEM looked like the ripoff. So yeah, this is all from the Netflix documentary. I'm not, saying anything that's not public domain. It's discussed very in high details in the Barbie Toys That Made Us video or series, whatever it is. The one that gave the all the credit for everything I did on He-Man to Super 7. All right, that's a video for another time. All right, so that's part of the whole intercompany issue. And then if you're looking at the industry as a whole, well, yeah, it's shifting towards these bigger high-end items because they're recognizing we've spent years collecting all of this stuff and now giving us things to display them in or to complement a display, which is that's the play pattern we engage in, is collecting and displaying. Kids like that too. Look at kids with marbles and rocks and toy soldiers and little mini erasers and all sorts of things that kids collect and then display. So yeah, it is one play pattern that is sort of lifelong, shall we say, as most other play patterns kind of, you grow out of them. You grow out of nurturing play when you start having your own children because you don't need to nurture dolls, and you grow out of smashing things together when you mature. So, yeah, I hope this kind of answers the questions. Yeah, it's development cycle and it's competition for the dollar. And we're going to see, I think, more and more of that. And, trends are where they are. Bigger items seem to be not only working as tent poles to unite a retail line, which retailers love, when you can say, I've already pre-sold, 10,000 doll houses, so we're going to put out, dolls that complement that. And I know people hate when I call action figures dolls. But it all ties together. I'll probably do another video about this. But there you go. That is the reason why there are so many high-end items hitting at once. And because they're all tied to sort of next... The ones you're buying this fall are tied to next fall's retail releases. Get it? All right. We'll dive deeper into that next time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video.